So to do that, you need to stick to like the warm cooked foods, like lots of bone broth, lots of ghee, like oatmeals and porridges and like your lentil stews, like all those things, like the chicken noodle soups, like the things that really make you feel like the comfort nourishment.
Yeah.
Well, and I can imagine those foods are easier to digest. Hi, I'm Rachel, owner of the NaturalBirth site, certified birth doula, childbirth educator, and midwife's assistant.
And I'm Tiffany Muniz, certified birth doula, lactation counselor, and midwife assistant.
Here, you'll learn all about different aspects of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Remember, none of this information should take the place of your care provider and is not medical advice.
Birth is not a medical emergency.
Thanks for listening.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Natural Birth Talk. This is Tiffany.
And this is Rachel.
We have Holly here today from Mama Meals. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah. So I'm Holly and I'm the founder of Mama Meals. We're a postpartum meal delivery service that ships nationwide, but just a little about me. I have 2 kids, 3, one is turning 7 tomorrow. And we live in Huntington Beach, California. We
beautiful.
Are just loving the like homeschool, organic, non-toxic, as best as we can vibes, and just loving this stage of life. And I have a husband too. That's and he's awesome.
I think when all of us girls get together on the podcast, we all like forget to talk about our husbands.
Yeah, right.
I know,
like all the girl stuff.
The underrated hero who's watching my kids right now. So I can be here.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about like how you got started doing this.
Yeah. So my son, like I said, he's turning 7 tomorrow. So that was in 2016. And I feel like postpartum like really wasn't talked about the way that it's kind of making this big movement now. And Instagram wasn't really being used for like all the educational content the way it is now. Yeah. And like I was already like very well down the rabbit hole of like wellness and that kind of stuff. So when I got pregnant, I was like, okay, what are all the options like for birth? So we ended up choosing a birth center. Just we had some pushback from family, and that felt like the good happy medium for us. So we chose the birth center. We had a midwife, we had a doula, we did hypno babies. Like I was so well researched on like everything for pregnancy, exercise, nutrition, like spinning babies, like all that stuff. And then the birth, I was like, I was so prepared for the birth. And then postpartum came, and it wasn't like I was like, yeah, I'm just going to skip over that and researching that part. I don't need to. Like, I just didn't know that I needed to. So I think I prepped like one freezer meal as if I was going to like eat one time. Like, I don't know what I thought like was going to happen. And we kind of had a meal train of people bringing by very well-intentioned junk food. And my son came out like posterior. And I was like, that was so hard. I deserve this. I ate so well. I deserve all this pizza, and then my husband would cook and we would have healthy things. Like I ate salads because that's healthy. Right. And then like cold smoothies and cause it was hot and I was chronically constipated for the first month. Like I was scared.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I was going poop, but like every, I don't know, 4 or so days, just terrified.
Gosh. Yeah.
And I just felt kind of like, blah, like just my mood was meh all the time. And I was like, well, I guess this is postpartum. Like no one told me. I don't know what to expect. Like we didn't talk about it really then. And then months down the road, I was at a mom's group and this girl brought up the book, The First 40 Days, which I know you guys know that book. But so if you don't know this book, it's like the traditional Chinese medicine approach to postpartum, like the first golden month, like those first 40 days. And it talked about how we need like warm, like soups and broths and like nourishing foods. And I was like, gosh, that makes so much sense, but you just like don't know what you don't know. So then I was like, okay, like people go in for their like redemption birth. I'm like, I want the redemption postpartum. Like I'm doing this all different. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, so she was born in September of 2020. I prepped.
I have a 2020 baby.
Do you?
Yes.
I know. I feel like we got kind of towards the end of 2020, so I could like see my family and things. But I prepped probably over 60 meals, like
good for you.
Stews, like some recipes from the book, some recipes I found on Pinterest, stocked them in my deep freezer. All I had to do, or all my husband had to do, was defrost, reheat, bring it to me in bed or on the couch. And first of all, my digestion was like, my first poop came and I was like, oh my God, it was so easy. It just came right out. Like,
That's awesome.
which is like, it was so exciting. My digestion was great. My mood was better. Like, I just felt like everything was like brighter and more optimistic. And every time I ate, I just felt like I was being like wrapped in this warm hug, like this feeling of just like safety, of like, oh, like this like deep breath, like I'm wearing diapers, I'm bleeding, I'm leaking, I'm not sleeping, but like I would eat and be like, everything's going to be okay. Like it's going to be okay. So I got through that postpartum period. And then maybe when my daughter was like 7 months or so, an acquaintance of mine reached out saying like, I'm struggling with my postpartum. Do you have like a postpartum doula recommendation? So I sent her some referrals, and then I was like, but I'm going to cook for you. Like, I'm going to just leave some food on your doorstep. Like, this is so important. It really changed like my life. So she's like, how much do I owe you for groceries? I'll Venmo you. I'm like, don't even, like, the joy that I'm going to get from making this, because I believe in this so much. Like, that's all I want. Like, I'm just so excited to have this opportunity to cook for somebody else.
That's so
and
sweet.
then I cooked for like another friend. And then when my daughter was about 1, so end of 2021, I was like telling my husband, I'm like, we need to do this as a business. I want to do this. And he's like, we don't have any experience in like the food space. Like this like we've got like 2 young kids. It feels like, you know, a really busy, active, a lot of work business. And I was like, that's okay. We'll just like figure it out. So I created like a PDF on Canva, and I got like a website on Squarespace, and I just put website coming soon. Like, click here to see our menu. And I was cooking out of our house, like taking orders via like Instagram and email and text.
Oh my gosh.
And Venmo. And it just like spiraled, like, and now we're almost here 2 years later, and we're like, it's like our full-time job, and we're like shipping nationwide. Like,
it's so cool.
That is
like,
amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It like has taken on this life of just like referrals and word of mouth. And it's been so cool and so rewarding.
So yeah. That's so crazy how it just like snowballed into what it is today.
Yeah. I mean, like when you find something good, it takes off usually.
For sure.
It does. I know. And a lot of people have been telling me like, oh, this grew so fast. You're so lucky. I'm like actually, this is like 7 or 8 years in the making of us trying to find something new that just like getting out of the rat race. Like, I used to be a wedding planner. I didn't want to do that anymore. It was too stressful. I had kids now. Like, we've been looking for the next thing for a long time. And it was like, we found the thing that really just like was the right thing for us. Yeah. And just being in need, and it just has taken off.
That's awesome.
So cool. So, what are some specific foods that moms should focus on postpartum?
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about that, like kind of like the warm soups and stews, but we really talk about like mugs and bowls. So things you would drink out of a mug, like bone broth, warm milk, teas, like
Why is
chai
that?
lattes.
Probably not coffee though, huh?
Yeah. I know some people like that's a non-negotiable for them. Like, do what you can. I personally don't drink coffee at all, so that's easy for me to drink.
I am a huge coffee lover.
Me too.
Like so much.
And I'll get back to the why you were talking about the warm.
Sure.
And then the bowls, like the soups, the stews, like you're not going to put like pizza in a bowl, but like the rich, meaty, brothy porridges and oatmeals. And it's because after birth, so in traditional Chinese medicine, kind of a very basic, like everyone knows like the yin and yang, like yin and yang. Yeah. So like yang is the very like masculine, like intense, like daytime, hot, like youth energy. And birth is a very yang experience, which is like all the like guttural noises. It's very intense. So you want to nourish your yin energy, which is like the slow, feminine, like rest, cool, like nighttime energy. So to do that, you need to stick to like the warm cooked foods, like lots of bone broth, lots of ghee, like oatmeals and porridges, and like your lentil stews, like all those things, like the chicken noodle soups, like the things that really make you feel like the comfort, nourishment.
Yeah.
Well, and I can imagine those foods are easier to digest.
Yes.
Because they're slow, it's a lot of like slow cooked foods that have been like properly prepared and everything's just like ready to break down. And then your body doesn't have to work so hard to break it down.
Yes, exactly. Because during digestion, like we're mammals, our digestion like shuts down during birth, and you can't just go back straight into something that's difficult to digest. You want to like nurture that digestive fire and like bring it back slowly and strengthen it. And they say, I mean, Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine both say like how you treat yourself and heal in this postpartum period can affect like the next 40 years or like the rest of your life. So
I preach that to every single one of my clients. Like,
yes, like do it
you
for
guys,
you in 30 years.
Yes, you do not understand how much this, small window of time is going to affect your entire life. How you mother, how you are as a wife, how your health is, like literally everything it's going to affect.
Yes. Yes. So
I wish more people understood that. That's why we're here, like to help people understand that.
I feel like my moms who have had babies before, like you said, Holly, like they really understand it. Usually it only takes that one postpartum to kind of like knock them on their feet. And then for their other babies after that, they're like, okay, she wasn't lying. Like I really have to put as much time and effort into planning for my postpartum as I do for my birth.
Yeah, I can speak to that from personal experience too.
Yeah.
Like my first, I mean, I had a meal train of not super healthy foods, and I was like, I wanted to eat the healthy foods so then I wouldn't eat the junky foods. And then I just wasn't eating because nobody was bringing me healthy foods. And that created a huge problem too, because like trying to breastfeed and recover and everything, like I had to eat. And it was just like, my brain was just so tired that I couldn't like think it through the right way. And I was eating, but I just wasn't eating enough.
Yeah.
And then with my second, I was like, I am going to be prepared. And I made a bunch of like freezer things, and I did like meatloafs and like a cupcake tin. And like, night and day difference, like night and day difference. When you are properly nourished, it can make all the difference in postpartum, but really like anytime, to be honest.
Yeah. Anytime. Yeah. But especially postpartum.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that I always go back and think about. I only have one child. He's almost 8. And I was not prepared for postpartum, like zero. I don't know if maybe my doula and my midwife like did talk about it, and I just wasn't listening, or just, thinking that maybe it wasn't quite as important as what they were saying. But I ended up with really, really horrible postpartum anxiety. And sometimes it would manifest as postpartum OCD. And I always kind of think like, if I would have had all of the knowledge that I have now, 8 years ago, would all of that have been completely different?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I like how you said maybe you just weren't listening when your midwife and doula would tell you. Because I also, this is a message for the people who are like, I'm so healthy. Like that doesn't apply to me. I'm a bouncer back. Cause I thought I was like, that's, I'm going to rest because you tell me to rest, but like my uterus shrank back down so fat. Like I was like, that's for other people who don't take care of their health. I'm really healthy, so I'm good. Like, no, this is for everybody.
Or
the flex is how long you can rest, not how fast you're back on your Peloton.
Or I've also had that experience with like second, third time moms who were like, well, my first postpartum was so easy. Like it was fine. I bounced back so good. Like I stopped bleeding within 10 days and I was back to like exercising and like doing all of these things. And I'm just like, no, please listen.
Please don't do that.
That is not the brag. That is not the brag.
Right. It's not what you think it is. Exactly. So you talked a little bit about all the things that we should try to add into our diets postpartum. What about anything to avoid?
Yeah. So in the beginning, you want to avoid like cold things, like raw veggies, like the dry, crunchy. And this is like generalities. Like you can always talk to like a TCM or Ayurvedic practitioner for like your specific needs. But like in Ayurveda, speak like in their language, it's similar to TCM. They're kind of saying the same things in different ways, but they say your vata energy, which is made up of air and space, is very imbalanced after birth. And if you think about it, like you have this giant uterus that is now empty and it's filled with air and space, and they say like the crackers and those dry, they're very airy and spacey. Like you want to eat like the grounding things that are going to like bring you back down to earth. So you want to avoid like the cold, like ice water, like my first postpartum, I ate a lot of rice cakes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I was like, I had to have ice water. And I knew with my third, I was like, I'm not supposed to be drinking ice water, but like my body is like, I need ice water. Right. And like, so there's a balance here of like listening to your body too.
Totally.
But yeah.
I did do, so the one kind of colder thing that I did do with my second postpartum was I did my placenta raw. So I would do the placenta smoothies.
Oh,
yeah. And then I would follow it up with like a hot tea or something after that to be like, I feel good about this cold thing. I'm consuming my placenta. That's good for me. But I'll follow up with a hot tea. So if you are craving like that, like some people are like, I crave ice or whatever, chewing ice. I crave that during pregnancy, not postpartum. But if you need that, like if you can try to follow it up with something a little warmer to kind of like,
there you go.
Balance
it out.
Balance. Yeah. It's all about balance.
Like do the best you can. It's not about like making yourself into like a tailspin of anxiety of like not doing it right.
Yeah, because that's where I was. My first postpartum was like, I wanted to do it right. And if I couldn't do it right, I wasn't going to do it. Yeah. And then I got in this trap of not eating enough, which spiraled into not having a good enough milk supply and being cranky and just not feeling good overall. And so you really have to be careful to balance it.
Yes, like if you want ice water and that means you're not going to drink water at all, like you need to be hydrated. So do what you can and try to just maybe follow it up with something a little warmer.
Well, and it's a lot easier though to consume those warmer foods and all those good foods if we have someone like you, Holly, who is providing us with those really awesome healthy foods where we don't necessarily have to think about it as much.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite meals to prep ahead of time?
Oh my gosh. So we have like a recipe PDF guide that has a lot of recipes that I love that we couldn't get onto our menu right now. But one thing that I love that's not on our menu is I did a baked potato soup that was so good.
Ooh,
with
that
like
sounds
bacon.
so good.
And my husband like would top it with some like raw cheese and sour cream. But I did like lentil stews. I love oatmeals, like rice pudding. We have like a primal chili that we sneak in like organs in there, but you can't taste them. We have like a creamy chicken and rice. Like a lot of those things, they all freeze really well. And I tell people like, you could order from us. That's very easy, or you can print out recipes. And I would say like, give one to like your mom, give one to your aunt, give one to your sister, your friend, whatever, and say, hey, can you make a big batch of this and freeze them into smaller portions for me? And then have them.
That's a good idea.
That's like, I was going to ask you that.
Like providing the recipe through your website.
So, I mean, there's a million recipes on Pinterest that you can find for free that are so easy. Like just stick to like the warm. And then with the meal train, I tell people like, if you are going to do a meal train, say like, cause I'll be like, oh, what are your dietary, like gluten-free or whatever. You can say, oh, we're trying to stick to like warm soups and stews. Here's some ideas, like, and try to ask people to at least
what a great idea
within like this general vicinity. Cause some people feel like, I'm like, it might not be organic. Like it might, it's okay. Like, but if you can kind of just steer them in the right direction, they're going to be happy to provide something. Like, I mean, our ingredients are organic. Our oats are sprouted. Our lentils are sprouted. Our meat is regenerative and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what would I cook for my own family? That's what we did. And we use like red mint salt and all that stuff. But for your meal train, for maybe like your aunt who like, or maybe like my aunt who's like not really with it. I just try to give her like some guidelines, like kind of just stick in this like general vicinity of things. And she's like, oh, cool. I have like a soup that I always like to make here. That.
So if you have someone who doesn't want to cook, who wants, a lot of people want to send gift cards or just get takeout or something like that. I'm thinking really good options could be like Panera Breadco soups. Super easy option to pick up, or like a rotisserie chicken. And even like Whole Foods, they have like a whole section of like ready to heat soups. For the big cities that have a Whole Foods.
We don't have a Whole Foods.
Oh my gosh, you don't have a Whole Foods. Okay.
No.
Well,
I mean, there's one in St. Louis, but St. Louis we have to drive a good 30 minutes. Tiffany's like an hour.
Okay. Maybe your local grocery store will have like some ready-made soups. I mean, I've even like when this is like down the road, but like I've even on Thrive Market like linked on like in a pinch like a can of soup and like throwing like some like ground beef or something with it. Like, I mean, that's maybe like not like my first choice, but I mean like that is like not a bad option. Like an organic, like the Amy's organic soup. Like there's a lot of like easier options out there.
Yeah. So I know you said for your daughter, you said that you prepped like 60 meals.
Yes.
So how did you do that? Like, is there like a method to it? Like how do you do all of that?
Yeah. So I love to cook. So it was a fun nesting project for me. And I kind of broke it up into a couple days where I invited over like a different friend each time, and we would cook like 2 or 3 things together.
Yeah.
I basically I just wrote out all the menu, and then I broke up my cooking days, got all the ingredients we needed, and then we would cook, and then I would let the soups cool. And then I had like little paper, like biodegradable, like paper containers. And I portioned them into 16-ounce individual servings, and then froze them that way. We have a deep freezer. Now for the business, we freeze them into 32-ounce containers because it's like less paper, less packaging, less waste. It's more space efficient because I'm like, people are getting these meals, like they're going to be sticking it into their home freezer. Maybe they have a deep freezer, but it needs to be space efficient. And most people, because once you defrost it, it lasts, 4 to 5 days or so. So you're going to eat both servings, especially if you're like sharing it with a partner or, other kids, like you're going to eat that whole container before it goes bad. So now we do it in 32-ounce containers. For myself, I did it in 16 ounces. And then I would just do, at this time, I didn't know when I was doing this myself, like anything about like food safety. I was just like at home. So now I know it's like basically when a soup comes out and it's like boiling and it's done, it's about 200 degrees. And then once it hits like 135, like we have 6 hours as a business to cool it down to 41 degrees. So what you could do at home is like on my right, I don't have like a farmhouse sink. I have like 2 sides. So on the bigger side, not the disposal, I would put like an ice bath of water and then put the pot in there, and that would help cool it down pretty quickly. So I could put it into the containers and then drop it in. I kind of talk about all those things like we have like a PDF. I'm like, this is how I did it at my house.
Okay, cool. That's great. I think that'll be really helpful for other moms to hear too, because when you told me that you made 60 meals, I'm like, how do I even do that? Like in my, like how do I do that in my kitchen, or how, like how long did that take you?
Yeah, it was like 4 days. Like it was like several hours, not to all day, but like it was like 4 different cooking days with different friends. So probably like 3 hours. I mean, maybe like almost like 12 hours at that time. Because it was like I had 3 different friends.
But it helps so much to have someone come help you.
For sure.
Yes.
One of my tips that I tell moms a lot is like when you go to make dinner, like when you're making a healthy dinner, make a double batch and then 100%. Freeze half of it, because then it's like a lot less work to just double a batch than it is to kind of like, take the time to do the extra batch. And if you do that every time you cook dinner, your whole 3rd trimester, you're going to end up racking up a good amount of meals at that point.
1,000%. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I do that now. Like I kind of like end up stocking my deep freezer, and then I get to the point where I'm like, oh, let me go grocery shopping in my freezer and see what we got. Like,
there you go.
Genius. Do you have any other tips or tricks for postpartum for moms?
I would say if you can swing a postpartum doula, I would highly recommend that. Resting, like the 5-5-5 is what is it? 5 days in the bed, on the bed, around the bed. I highly recommend that. For people who have, this is not their first baby, something that I did not anticipate with my birth of my second is how much I would miss my son, my first, because everyone was so like, I got Rory, I'll take him to the park, I'll watch him, I'll watch this. And everyone was helping him so much to help me with the baby that I was like, I miss him so much. So if I had another baby, I would kind of like plan more for that of like, okay, so we ended up like, we don't have a TV in our bedroom. So I'm like, bring a laptop upstairs. Like we can watch movies together. We can do puzzles or read books or stickers. Like what can I do from bed with my older ones? Because that was something that really, like took me by surprise. And
I think that's a common feeling postpartum too, to miss your other children, especially with a second baby.
You just don't see that coming. And then really focus if you can get like a registry going for like an in-house postpartum massage or things like that. Like,
or even someone to come do chores for you.
Yes. Do chores. Oh my gosh. I had a friend or someone told me that, she had someone come just like blow dry her hair. And I was like, that sounds so like, not like a hairstylist, just like a friend who came and just like blow dried her hair with a round brush. Like it wasn't like, that sounds so luxurious. Like after you're just like sitting on your floor, like in a diaper, like, oh my God, if I could have had someone to come like blow dry my hair, like, yeah, cleaning the house. Oh, I also recommend too, like what we did with the second one, but I didn't do with the first. You learn a lot from that first one. That I had all my cleaning supplies, like I put them in a basket, like on the kitchen counter, and I left the vacuum out, like and like my laundry detergent was out. I kind of just put things like out accessible, so people wouldn't be like, oh, where do I find the vacuum? And I'm like,
that's a great idea.
Let me just get it myself and show you, because I can't describe it. Like I end up doing more, like trying to help me.
Yeah,
so
that's
just
a
like,
good idea.
Here's everything. It's just here. I don't know, run the vacuum around. Like I also am somebody who does like to, and also listen to yourself too, because some people are like, oh, no visitors, like don't ask me, but I'm somebody who like wanted visitors, like kind of earlier on, because I'm like, I'm getting lonely. Like that's where my kind of like baby blues kick in, is being by myself. So just like, and I also wanted to be like, here, can you hold the baby? Like, I know they're like, don't ask to hold the baby, like go be helpful. I'm like, be helpful. And also, can you hold the baby? Like, I just like, I like the breaks too. So
me too.
Just like being open to being flexible of like what your plan is. Like, I said no visitors, but now we want them. Or I said I wanted visitors and now we don't. Like, you don't have to apologize. Like, this is not a good time or whatever. Yeah. And then if someone's coming over, I would be like, hey, can you stop at Sprouts and get this and this and this for me? I'll just Venmo you or whatever. And some people were like, don't even worry about it. But I just always assign people to like get something.
I think that's really important. Sorry, Rachel, but just to not be scared to delegate things to people. I know, like, even the way that I was raised, like we don't, I wouldn't necessarily ask my mom or my grandma to be like, hey, can you come over and clean my bathroom or take out my trash or do my dishes? That might be something that they would do on their own, but I would feel terrible if I like asked them to do that. So I think like not being scared to ask your support system for help is important.
Yeah. My rule was anybody could come see me and my baby, and I was comfortable with that. But you had to either bring me healthy food or do a chore.
Yes.
Like, so like there was a fee to get in my house and see my baby.
And the people who want to do that, like, are happy to do the fee. Like, just like, this is like the one time in life that people are going to like kind of like bend over backwards and do the things that you need to do. So take advantage of it now. Because when your baby's like 3, you're not gonna be like, oh, can you come over and clean my bathroom while I'm in bed? They're gonna be like, no, do it yourself. Like, this is the time. Take advantage of it.
Yes.
Yeah, for real.
Love that.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Well, I was just going to say that we are going to put your website link in the description below, or in the description of the podcast. But I realized something recently when I was looking through the podcast stuff. So listeners, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, the links don't always work in the description. And the description looks like really jumbled and yucky. So it works on like Amazon Music or whatever, and it works on like Google Podcasts, and it works directly from our Buzzsprout website. All of the links and everything work. So listeners, if you're like, hey, she said she was going to put the links in the description, and then you look and they're not there, I realized that's why recently. So you can definitely head over to our Buzzsprout website if the links in the description from the platform you're listening on is not working. And that's just the naturalbirthtalk.buzzsprout.com. And then you can also find the link directly from the naturalbirthsite.com. But I just wanted to throw that out there before I forgot, because it's been on my mind that I need to tell everybody that the links don't always work.
Glad we got that out.
Yeah. So Holly, is there anything else that you want to talk about or mention?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I feel like that's enough to chew on.
Yeah.
Unintended, I just thought of that.
Just curious. Do you offer meal trains? Like, can people set up meal trains through you?
So what most people do is they'll register for like meals or gift cards on their like baby list or third party registry, or people have gathered kind of on their own, like, hey, we're setting up a meal train, everyone Venmo this person, whatever money. And then they'll kind of give that money to the person, or they'll place like one big order. I see like a lot of like orders that are like our biggest package, and it's like love, and it lists like 10 names or
a bunch of people.
So that's my dream on the website one day is to be able to like go in and like create your own account and like you can like give your own personalized link to people.
Yeah.
And it has like maybe like a little like meter bar of what you're trying to rate. I don't know, like
big plans.
No,
I got big plans. I got big plans. It's
awesome.
not made it yet. I'm like, anything's possible though.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So how can people connect with you and like buy your products and visit your website and all of that?
Yeah, the website is mama-meals.com. And then on Instagram, we're eat.mamameals. And
Perfect.
Not young enough for TikTok yet. Maybe one day. I got to hire somebody for that.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Holly. It was really a joy meeting you and learning about the services that you offer. Yeah. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I did want to add one more thing. I'll create a discount code for you guys. So it'll be $20 off their first order of $200 or more. So I don't know, whatever you want the code to be, I'll make it.
Perfect.
Okay. So. Maybe what we've done before is we do TNBT. So the Natural Birth Talk, TNBT, and then 20 since it's $20
TNBT
off.
20. Got it.
How does that sound?
That's what it is. I'm going to make it right now.
I will put that in the description below.
TNBT
also.
20. Okay, cool. Yeah, $20 off the first order of $200 or more.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. I think our listeners will really love that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, listeners, we'll talk to you in the next episode.
Bye.
Hi, Rachel Manns again. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to and rate this podcast and head over to thenaturalbirthsite.com to check out our online natural birth education course, birth story blog, YouTube channel, and more.